This is a jar of honey from my hard-working bees in Alsace. And as a hive, it's hundreds of thousands of bees working together in perfect harmony to develop an incredible outcome, an incredible product. And honey is local, it's delicious, it's healthy. For the scientists among you, it's antiseptic, it's antibiotic, it's antipyretic, and it has a shelf life of over 2,000 years, as evidenced by being tasted fresh from the pharaoh's tombs. What an amazing product. In this short talk, we're going to be looking at some leadership lessons as a fun metaphor from inside a hive. Because as a metaphor for an organisation, there can be hundreds of thousands of bees working together to develop an amazing product. But let me ask some of the audience some questions first. Put your hand up if you work for a large, complex organisation. Yep, I'm seeing lots of hands. A second question, put your hand up if you work in perfect harmony. I can see that's a few less. Let's hope you work in perfect harmony for the majority of the time. And a third question, put your hand up if you have a female CEO or a queen bee. Not many. There's clearly some work to do there in terms of diversity. But let's focus now what happens in the hive, and let's look at 3 lessons. The first lesson is actually to observe and to notice what is happening before taking an action. As leaders, we need to use our superpowers of awareness and insight and all of our senses to gather data about what is happening in an organisation or a team before effecting change. As beekeepers, we need to do the same. In fact, we don't need to lift the lid off a beehive to see what's happening inside. We can use our powers of observation first from outside. The first observational superpower is to listen. You can hear on a hot summer's day, if a beehive is happy, it makes a lovely noise. From a distance, you can hear they are happy. If the atmospheric pressure changes and a storm is coming, the noise raises by an octave. And immediately you can hear the bees are stressed. So that's one data point that you have already. The second thing is to use your eyes. You can look, you can see if the bees outside the hive are moving in an agitated way. That means they're stressed. That's something to note. And the third thing is to smell. If bees are happy, they make honey, it's wonderful. You can smell the honey coming out of the hive. If the bees are stressed, they stop making honey and they make propolis. And propolis is bee glue, and that's a defense mechanism to make sure the hive is safe against any incoming threats. So here are 3 senses we can use to understand what is happening inside a hive. If the hive is happy, you can take the lid off and you can work with the bees. You don't need smoke, you don't need gloves, you don't need a veil. You can scoop bees up with your hands if you're working with the system. But observe and pause and reflect before doing so, or else the feedback comes stinging and quick. And in an organisation, we should all spend more time noticing and being conscious and being aware of what is happening inside a complex system. Now, a second lesson is about lifelong learning and development. In bees' amazing lives, worker bees in the summer live for on average 32 to 34 days. It's a short career and a very intense one. When you see bees flying, that is just the last 3 or 4 days of their life. For the 4 weeks previous, they specialise in up to 6 different, completely functional specialist roles. When they first hatch, they are trained to become builder bees, and they build the cells where the queen lays her eggs. They go deep in that topic, they specialise, they are experts, that's what they are dedicated to do, and they do it very well. After 3 or 4 days, they are trained by the previous cohort of bees to become nannies or nurses. They look after the larvae, they look after the egg cells that the queen has laid, and that's a completely different functional speciality. And then in turn, they train the previous cohort of bees to do that role, and then they are taught to become, in terms of security, in terms of the temperature control, and then finally they become the foragers when they come to the outside of the hive. But when they come to the outside of the hive for the first time to fly, that means they understand the system, they understand how the hive is working. And then they fly in search of pollen and nectar that is so important. And thinking about our own careers, it's a plea to be good at what we do, to specialise, to become functional experts, and keep learning. Keep learning for new roles, for new skills, for new opportunities, for things yet to come in your career. It's important. Every day is a learning day. A third lesson is a cheeky one, and it's about diversity. And the third lesson is about recognising the experience and the maturity that the queen has. I said the worker bees have a short lifespan. The fertile queen has a life expectancy of 5 to 6 years. She lives in a different cycle. She is responsible for the genetic welfare of the whole system, of the whole macroorganism. She understands the safety issues, she understands the humidity, she understands the local diversity, she understands the threats, she understands the seasonal weather patterns. The queen understands the whole system. And my plea here is to recognize people in your organization that understands what is happening. They are formal networks, there are informal networks. There are important lessons from what people say, from what people do, from what people think, and from what people feel. So my third lesson is about respecting people that understand the system. And there may be people with a long tenure in an organization, and it's important to recognize that. So we've looked at just 3 lessons today. It's a wonderful metaphor. It's both organizational development as well as beekeeping are both fun and deep topics, and we could go deeper into many more aspects, but we're just looking at those 3 today. So to bring this to a close, let's recognize the bees, let's look after them, let's treat them for the precious product that they create, and let's celebrate that. And let me finish by saying, long live the Queen. Thank you.